Nestled in my worn armchair, I feel the comforting embrace of nostalgia wrap around me. The scent of old leather and polished silver fills the air, drawing me back to evenings spent with David. Those precious moments are etched in vivid detail in my memory, our laughter mingling with the gentle clink of silverware as we turn the pages of antique books together, lost in tales of history. "What's this one story, Mom?" he would ask, his eyes lighting up with excitement. I cherished every spark of curiosity, each question a thread that wove us closer together. I sacrificed my career so that I could devote my time to raising him, believing I was building not just a life, but a legacy. Each restoration project was a labor of love, crafting not just beautiful pieces but instilling values of craftsmanship and patience. With each plate, each fork, I shared the stories entwined in our family history, pouring my heart into shaping a bright future for David. But then came Sophie, and with her arrival, the warmth of our bond began to chill. At first, I welcomed her into my home with open arms, hoping to foster an atmosphere where traditions could blend and flourish. Our family gatherings once radiated joy. They filled our home with laughter and rich aromas from my favorite recipes. Still, subtle shadows loomed. During one family dinner, something shifted. Sophie glanced disdainfully at my cherished silver collection and remarked, "Old-fashioned junk." The laughter that followed pierced through me like a dagger, and I sat frozen in disbelief, the warmth of my kitchen suddenly feeling stifling. David's laughter, once sweet music to my ears, now seemed lost in the chaos as he leaned into her, oblivious to the tension spiraling between us. As weeks turned into months, I felt my heart tightening with each dismissive quip Sophie made at my expense, my cherished dishes labeled dated, my hobbies mocked. The air of love that once surrounded our family gatherings thickened with unease, isolating me in my own home. I watched my son transition from eager student to a passive participant, sharing laughter with Sophie while leaving me cast aside like an unwanted heirloom, neglected and forgotten. Despair clung to me, echoing in the corners of our once vibrant home. I lay awake at night, longing for the intimacy we had shared, tortured by the silence that now filled our spaces. Each meal I prepared, each conversation I attempted, felt like a stride into a battlefield where my worth was constantly challenged. The sound of burnt toast during breakfast mingled with Sophie's dismissive comments about my cooking, piercing my heart further. I began to wonder whether love was enough to bridge this growing chasm between us. My heart choked under the weight of isolation, but deep inside, a fervent flame flickered. In the silenced echo of her contempt, I will reclaim my dignity, I whispered to myself, drawing strength from those words. I refused to be reduced to mere background scenery in my son's life, a ghost in my own home. No longer would I lose myself in the shadows, suffocated by Sophie's disdain. With my spirit reigniting, I know that I must confront this imbalance and breathe life into the love that remains. I will take steps to reclaim my connection with David and my identity as his mother. I can almost taste the culmination of years of love and resiliency from my antiques. That same determination lies within me. It is time to channel that energy, to transform our story and restore the bonds that have frayed. The first time Sophie stepped into our home, her bright smile felt like the sun breaking through a spring morning. I stood in the kitchen, a warm curry simmering on the stove, the fragrant spices wrapping around me like a comforting embrace. The table was meticulously set. My collection of antique china gleamed under the soft glow of the chandelier, each piece placed with care as if hoping to impress my future daughter-in-law. I wanted her to see our home through my love for history and family, to share in the richness that enveloped every room. Wow, this is so old-fashioned," she exclaimed, scanning the decor. Her words felt like a fleeting breeze, light and airy, but a chill settled deep within me. I brushed it aside, chalking it up to youthful exuberance. After all, she was stepping into a world filled with traditions, and I wanted to welcome her with open arms, adorned with vintage warmth. As time passed, the laughter at family gatherings felt like a distant echo. Those early moments lulled me into a false sense of security, but Sophie had a way of shifting the atmosphere. Each gathering started to bear the burden of her sharp remarks. Hidden contempt danced behind her polite facade. "Margaret, do you really think we need all these trinkets cluttering the house?" she would throw out, grinning as if sharing a friendly joke. I would smile politely, holding the laughter in my throat, which felt like a knot tightening. "They're not just trinkets, Sophie, they're treasures," I'd respond, voice steadier than my hands. I felt the air thicken around us, moments stretching like shadows that seemed to envelop me, slowly extinguishing the warmth I once knew. Dinners turned into stages for her cavalier critiques, and David, blissfully unaware, would laugh at her jests, unaware of the undercurrent that dragged at my heart. I felt the cold ground beneath me shifting, fracturing the bonds we had once celebrated together. Yet I clung to hope that one day she would understand the history that lay behind each piece. After all, they were threads of our family's narrative, stitched together by the hands that came before me. When Sophie declared her intention to declutter the house, the alarms in my mind blared. "Let's get rid of all this old stuff," she said one afternoon as we sat over tea. The ceramic teacups, delicate and translucent, felt fragile in my grip, like the very essence of my spirit. I could feel the tension simmering beneath my skin, a boiling pot just waiting for the right moment to overflow. With each passing day, the comments sharpened. My cherished heirlooms began to feel like stones tied to my ankles, dragging me further into an abyss of exclusion. "You know, we really should focus on modern aesthetics. Antiques just remind me of a time I'd rather forget," she muttered one evening, eyeing the ornate silver candlesticks I had inherited from my grandmother. I sensed David's discomfort, a quick glance exchanged between us, a silent plea for understanding, but Sophie's laughter echoed through the room, drowning out our unspoken bond. The first cracks appeared during a birthday celebration for our grandchildren. I had prepared my famous carrot cake, the recipe passed down from my mother. As I brought it to the table, memories flooded back of time spent teaching David how to bake, the smell of cinnamon and sugar lingering in the air. Yet, as the cake was presented, Sophie took a playful jab. "Why not try something contemporary next time? Cakes that are gluten-free or organic are all the rage now." The room filled with laughter yet again, my heart slipping further into isolation. David joined in, oblivious to the stab at my culinary legacy. I felt my cheeks flush with a mix of anger and humiliation, the edges of my vision blurring with frustration. I had always been the anchor, keeping our family vibrant and together, yet in that moment I seemed to dissolve into the fabric of the wallpaper. Standing in the kitchen late that night, I stared at the leftover slices of cake, which looked forlorn. The gleaming silverware around the table felt heavy, a burden I had collected, now turning against me like angry specters haunting the corners of my life. Each piece told a story of struggle, love, and sacrifice, a narrative that was slipping away. Days turned into weeks, and I began to see more signs of Sophie's discontent. Whenever I shared stories of my collection, memories tied to each piece, I was met with eye rolls and dismissive smiles, the weight of her disdain palpable. I began questioning whether Sophie viewed me as an obstacle in her quest for a modern paradise, a gatekeeper to a past she wished to erase. Amid these daily confrontations, my heart swelled with a mix of darkness and determination. I paced through the gallery of our shared life, a tapestry ripped apart by her contempt. Each antique resonated with its own character, and as I gently dusted the silverware, the mantra bubbled up again. In the silenced echo of her contempt, I will reclaim my dignity. With each vibration of that mantra, an ember ignited within, a flicker of strength, reminding me that I am more than just the vintage decor populating my home. I vowed to confront this escalating tension. I needed to reframe the narrative, to not just defend the treasures in my home, but to redefine the perception of who I was, a mother, a keeper of stories, an architect of our family legacy. It was time to rise from the shadows and give voice to my truth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness cloaked the kitchen, but a flicker of resolve ignited within me. I could no longer stand on the sidelines as the barb of Sophie's contempt pierced my heart again and again. It was time to craft a new narrative, one that would allow me to reclaim my dignity and restore our family's bond. Sitting at my kitchen table, I glanced around at the treasures surrounding me. Each gleaming piece of silverware, every framed photograph echoed stories and memories. My stories. I needed Sophie to see not just the objects, but the love and history that enriched our lives. I could show her the depth of our legacy, a connection to the generations that shaped me. The idea of hosting a family dinner started to bloom in my thoughts. An evening under the stars, filled with laughter and delicious food, would be the perfect setting to share our stories. I could guide her through our family's fabric, threading her into our world rather than allowing her to tear us apart. Perhaps I could even introduce contemporary recipes alongside the traditional ones, something to be inclusive yet informative. My heart raced with excitement as I jotted down ideas in my notebook, each word a step toward reclaiming my space in this family. I envisioned the menu meticulously, blending my mother's cherished recipes with modern twists, gluten-free options and fresh herbs harvested from the garden. This would not only honor our past, but also extend a welcoming hand toward Sophie. As I sketched the plan, I felt renewed energy surging within me. I decided to decorate our dining area with framed family photos. David as a child, his first birthday, our summer picnics, the joyful chaos of holidays long past. Each picture would weave a narrative Sophie could not ignore, allowing her a view of my love, my journey, and the place she was to assume within our family tapestry. The night of the gathering approached, yet unease nibbled at the corners of my mind. Would David understand my intention, or would he simply retreat into silence, unable to confront the discomfort bubbling beneath the surface? My heart ached at the thought of my son's indifference, but this time I would not let fear hold me back. I prepared to have a conversation with him that would require vulnerability and courage from us both. Sitting across the table from him one quiet afternoon, I felt my pulse quicken. He was engrossed in a video game, and I hesitated before interrupting the moment. Summoning my strength, I approached him and shared my plan. "David," I began, voice steadier than I felt, "I'm hosting a family dinner someday soon, and I want you to be part of it. I believe it can help bridge the gap between Sophie and the family's history." David paused, looking at me, though uncertainty shadowed his features. "Really? What's the occasion?" he asked, his interest seeming merely polite. "It's a celebration, a way for us to come together and share who we are. I want Sophie to understand why our legacy matters," I explained, hoping my urgency would translate into conviction. "Will she even care, though?" he replied, the edge of skepticism creeping into his tone. There it was. My son's silent acceptance of Sophie's disdain pricked like thorns under my skin. Keeping my gaze steady, I replied, "It's not just about her. It's about us, David. This dinner will give us an opportunity to honor our past and demonstrate how love binds us." He took a deep breath and shifted slightly in his chair. "I can try," he muttered, reluctance spilling from every word. I longed for him to dig deeper, to find the compassion buried within his silence. "If she dismisses it, remember our history and let it serve as a reminder of who we are," I pressed, holding his gaze. "These treasures are more than just objects. They're a testament to our journey, a journey we must continue together." A flicker of understanding sparked in his eyes. I sensed that beneath his hesitation lay a yearning for connection that mirrored my own. With renewed hope, I felt the ember of determination kindling within me. The night of the dinner dawned bright and clear, filled with promise. I spent hours decorating, placing the family pictures around the dining area, their vivid colors contrasting against the warm glow of the candlelight. The table wore its best attire, each dish meticulously prepared, capturing the essence of my heritage. The fragrances danced in rhythm with my heart, a harmony of past and present blending seamlessly. Yet, as I stood back, surveying the beauty I had created, the weight of uncertainty flooded back. Would this be enough? Would Sophie truly comprehend the significance of the evening? But just as apprehension began to creep in, I recalled my mantra, whispering it softly as I ran my hands along the dining table. In the silenced echo of her contempt, I will reclaim my dignity. With that final statement reverberating through my mind, I stepped into the evening, ready to navigate the complexities of this gathering, armed with love and resolve. It was time to rise from the shadows and assert my place in this unfolding story. The sun dipped beyond the horizon, leaving nudges of orange and purple streaked across the sky. I took a deep breath, grounding myself in the gathering dusk, the air rich with anticipation. This was it, the night I would present not just a meal, but a moment drenched in the stories of our lineage. Yet beneath the excitement lay a simmering undercurrent of tension as I confronted the reality of what lay ahead. Sophie arrived first, her presence both ominous and charged. The doorbell's ring sent ripples through me, stirring the tightly coiled anticipation. I smoothed my blouse, adjusting my posture, projecting an air of hospitality. Clenching my fists, I opened the door, allowing the warmth of our home to envelop her. "Wow, Margaret, did you really go to all this trouble?" she remarked, stepping through the threshold, her voice dripping with an edge that set my nerves alight. Behind that cheerful facade, I sensed a cautious undercurrent, a meticulous examination of my carefully curated world. "Only the best for my family," I managed, an attempt at lightness as an uneasy knot formed in my belly. I silently dared her to challenge the significance of my efforts, aware of her propensity to do just that. As we moved to the dining area, I watched her eyes traverse the room, taking in the photographs and twinkling fairy lights I had draped artfully around the space. I could feel her skepticism trying to burrow through the warmth I had staked my claim in. "These are nice, but don't you think it's too nostalgic?" The subtle implication stung, even more so since she was enveloped in the very glow of yesterday's kindness. Running my fingers along the tablecloth, I bit back frustration. Nostalgia is a part of who we are, Sophie. It guides us forward. I wished to challenge her words, to let her know that history was not merely a weight upon us, but a foundation upon which we stood. David arrived next, his casual demeanor immediately attractive to Sophie. As he entered, A flicker of tension dispersed, a shared moment of love between mother and son that she could not undermine. But as he joined us at the table, I sensed Sophie's sneering glances lingering like storm clouds overhead. As the evening unfolded, I moved through the roles I had set for myself as both host and storyteller, weaving narratives as enticing as the dishes I presented. Each course that emerged from my kitchen bore the flavors of love, from the savory pot roast, marinated for hours with herbs to enliven the senses, to the delicate gluten-free brownies spun with roots in my mother's legacy, but catering to Sophie's modern palate. I glanced at David, who smiled between bites, but Sophie distractedly scrolled through her phone, seemingly unimpressed. My heart sank. I needed to make her understand that our history mattered, a connection worth exploring. In the quiet between courses, I seized my chance. Let me share a story about this roast. It was my mother's recipe and she made it whenever we had family gatherings. I started recounting memories of laughter around this very table, how the scent of herbs mingled with falling snow outside, transforming our home into a haven. As I spoke, I observed Sophie's reaction. Her cheeks flushed, a slight tightening of her lips as if she was grappling internally with my narrative's weight. But just as I sensed an opening, she interrupted. "That's great and all, but don't you think it's suffocating for someone like me? I prefer keeping things light and modern." "Light can often overlook depth," I said, my pulse quickening, fighting to maintain composure. I chose my words with care, anticipating her defiance yet driven by the fire of my mission. "This history isn't just old tales, Sophie. It shapes our lives, strengthens our bonds." Sophie smirked, but something in her eyes flickered, perhaps a hint of curiosity beneath her defensiveness. In that moment, each lick of my gut reinforced my resolve to reach her heart. I needed to gather evidence of her true feelings beneath her disillusionment. The path to understanding sometimes ran obscure and crooked. With every dish served, I noticed how the atmosphere shifted. David's laughter melded with memories of the past, while Sophie remained ensconced in an aura of detachment. I began to observe her more closely, taking note of every furtive glance, every upturned brow. A complex undercurrent flowed between her and David, a silent play of alliances I could not yet decipher. After dinner, while clearing the table, I caught Sophie digging into one of the framed photographs I had placed around. "Why is this even important?" she asked, studying David's childhood picture that sat by the pie tray. Her tone was belligerent, but something softened in her posture, allowing me to test the waters further. In these moments, we see the love and care that hold us together. "This history is where we emerge," I replied, channeling from the depths of my passion. "These stories were crafted with resilience. It's our family's heartbeat." David stood at the counter, elbows resting there, absorbing our exchange. I could sense his uncertainty, the gradual unease of observing a clash between worlds he straddled. Sophie muttered, "Traditions can stifle you, you know. Who wants to live in a museum?" The sting in her words vibrated through me, daring me to react, to reveal a tempest stirring beneath my placid exterior. I took another calculated breath. Confrontation was inevitable. Ordinarily, I would agree with you. I let my voice rise with purpose. But what if tradition fosters connection instead? What if love matters more than modern aesthetics? I stand by the belief that past traditions feed us, nurturing not just who we are, but how we grow. In that moment, I felt the tension crackle between my heart and her facade. I could almost see through to the concealed cracks in her bravado. Did she feel this pull? Did she, too, crave connection beneath the glossy surface? I could sense David absorbing this confrontation, the silence stretching in the air. and as I cleared the table, I felt emboldened. The seeds of hope began to burrow deep within me. I vowed to investigate deeper, to ensure this dinner wouldn't just fade into the evening, but rather linger in our conscience. As the evening drew to a close and the last remnants of cake were consumed, I was determined to nurture this fragile possibility of understanding. The barrier's disintegration, I reminded myself, could be a transformative journey if I touched her heart with love, allowing her to see what lay buried beneath the contempt, an opportunity for open dialogue, exchange, and hope. The scent of lingering cake wafted through the room as the evening wound down, transformed into a bittersweet aftertaste of strained laughter and tentative connections. David had retreated slightly, his comfort fracturing under the pressure of our unspoken tensions. Sophie, however, appeared to be wearing a facade of dismissive satisfaction, casually scrolling through her phone as if she hadn't just shared a moment of vulnerability. As I cleared the last dish, a heavy silence descended around us, the tension hanging in the air thick like the smoke from a burnt roast. My heart pulsed in my throat. But I knew this pivotal moment wasn't one I could ignore. It was a whisper urging me to act, to press further and probe into the soft underbelly of that hostility. With my pulse racing, I took a chance. "Sophie, can we talk about tonight? I want to hear your thoughts, your real thoughts." She looked up sharply, brows furrowed, caught off guard by my directness. For a moment, I felt the weight of the invisible barrier between us pulse ominously. "What's there to talk about?" she replied coolly, dismissing my invitation with an annoyed wave. "Everything," I pressed, holding her gaze. "You're part of this family now, and this home is yours too. I want you to feel that." My heart raced. I needed her to understand that I wasn't attacking but rather reaching out. David shifted uneasily, glancing between us, the air thickening with unspoken defenses and fears. But he remained silent, an observer on the periphery of our confrontation. "Look, Margaret," Sophie replied, the sharpness returning to her voice. "Family and tradition are great and all, but they don't mean we can't evolve. She hesitated, a flicker of uncertainty passing over her face, a vulnerability that was all too rare. "I just think—" "What do you think?" I interrupted gently, emboldening her to express herself. Sophie crossed her arms, the force of her stance quickly returning. "Traditions can be suffocating. People get stuck in them, and then it's like they're afraid to change. You have to admit, this is a lot." A pause fell between us, stretching thin like a frail thread. And for just a moment, I saw it, the conflict grappling internally, clashing with the values she had likely been raised on. "I understand," I said softly. "Change is hard, but there's beauty in blending the old with the new." Her defensive posture softened again. "But are you okay with change?" Sophie pressed back, a glimpse of sincerity cracking her studied indifference. "Yes," I replied firmly, my voice steady. "I want to evolve. I want our family to evolve. My goal isn't to confine you to a museum. I intended to share who we are so we can grow together. But I also don't want to lose the essence of what made us a family." The words poured from my heart, and I felt every ounce of courage draw forth from my soul as I took a breath. "I want us to embrace both pieces." She looked thoughtful, her defenses wavering. "But your pieces are, well, they're tangible memories that can take over. How do I fit into that?" "By becoming part of this story however you see fit," I replied, hope heating my chest. "You can help redefine what it means to be a family in this home." David, still standing at the counter, shifted on his feet, finally interjecting. "Sophie, I want you to understand that my mom isn't trying to stifle you. These stories matter. They're part of who we are. If we don't acknowledge them, We risk losing our roots. Sophie turned her gaze to him, surprise widening her eyes. For the first time, I saw a crack in her armor. You think so? She asked, her voice softer. Absolutely, David replied, his tone earnest, grounding us in this moment. I could sense the shift in Sophie. As my son supported the duality of family history and modern aspirations, she began to soften, opening the door for dialogue where hostility had thrived. My heart soared as sparks of connection ignited between them. Two people bound through love, yet caught in conflicting ideologies. Turning her attention back to me, Sophie spoke hesitantly, the defenses crumbling. Okay, maybe you're right, but can we really find a middle ground? Traditions can feel outdated, but I don't want to feel like an outsider. Yes, that's exactly what I'm striving for. My voice almost trembled with the weight of the moment as I reached out, taking her hand gently in mine. Let this be a beginning, a commitment to blend our stories. You help me with the traditions and I'll bring you into them. I want you to infuse this house with your vision. Her eyes sparkled with a flicker of understanding that I desperately hoped would continue to burn. I'm willing to try, she said, more resolute, but I need you to understand that I can't carry everything. It's overwhelming sometimes. I'm here, Sophie. We can navigate the complexities together, I reassured her. This home isn't meant to constrict us, but to bind us. We just need to establish a balance where we lift each other up. Que the tension morphed into a newfound harmony, buoyed by our openness. I sensed an uncharted potential shifting within the room, a beautiful surrender to reconciliation. It was a small seedling of hope, nurtured by my willingness to confront and her willingness to listen. As we continued to talk, I let the walls collapse around us, sharing my vision of a family that blended history and modernity. We explored how traditions could evolve as I mapped out ways to create new rituals alongside the existing ones. The air thickened with possibility, where once stood animosity, and in those unfolding moments, I felt my dignity blossom like a resplendent flower reaching for sunlight. This was not simply about clinging to the past, but about forging a future that echoed both our stories, a legacy rooted in love. As the night drew on, the earlier barriers began to dissolve, leaving an openness that shimmered between us. Let's make this a family effort. Together, I said, reflecting the light within. The flicker of transformation was alive in the room, offering all three of us a path forward, illuminated by dialogue and connection. I could feel the momentum surging, a belief beginning to crystallize, not only in my capacity to assert my voice, but in the possibility of a shared narrative that would allow Sophie to belong, rooted deeply in love and respect for our history. Days melded into weeks following our breakthrough dinner, each moment surging with tantalizing promise. The decision to blend our worlds sparked new energy within the home, infusing everyday routines with anticipation. Sophie and I became co-conspirators in cultivating a future that honored both of our backgrounds. We decided to begin with the garden. Over those spring weeks, we transformed an untouched patch of earth in my backyard into a vibrant canvas filled with vegetables and flowers, a living embodiment of our merging traditions. Digging our hands into the soil together, we exchanged laughter and stories, slowly dismantling the walls that had once divided us. I can't believe we're actually planting a vegetable patch, Sophie said gleefully, her excitement bubbling over like the spring blooms surrounding us. This is so wholesome. Wholesome is good, I replied, heartened by her enthusiasm. Fresh vegetables will be perfect for our family meals. During our planting sessions, Sophie proposed making modern twists on my traditional recipes. I welcomed her input with open arms. Each suggestion was a piece of her vision blending into mine. As the flowers bloomed, so did our conversations, weaving our histories together like the colorful vines climbing the fence. However, beneath the blossoming collaboration lay a hidden storm. David's silence had lingered like a heavy fog, his tension weighing in the house. My heart ached because I knew untouched emotions could disrupt the newfound harmony I was fostering between Sophie and me. I resolved to confront the distance that had brewed within him. One evening, as Sophie chopped vegetables for a vibrant salad in the kitchen, I saw the moment had come for a necessary talk. "David, can we sit down for a moment?" He glanced at me, then reluctantly set his phone aside, his brow furrowing. "About what?" "There's something I need to discuss." I perched beside him on the couch, heart racing. "I care about both of you deeply, and I sense you're carrying a weight." David pulled away slightly, apprehensive. "I'm fine, really. There's nothing to worry about." But my heart ached for him. "You've been quiet since the dinner with Sophie. It's okay to feel conflicted. I don't want to be the only one pushing for this to work." With a heavy sigh, he ran a hand through his hair, frustration simmering beneath the surface. "It's just, all this change is overwhelming. I don't want to create tension between you and Sophie. It feels like I'm stuck in the middle." His vulnerability hung between us like morning fog. "You don't have to choose sides, love. Our home is about understanding and love. The way forward doesn't have to be divisive." "I know," he replied, his frustration bubbling back to the surface. "But it feels like I hardly recognize you guys anymore. Sophie's world is so different from ours. Sometimes it's hard to see how it all fits." "Different can be good," I countered gently. "Think of the meals we'll share, the traditions we can blend. This can be an opportunity for joy. Together, we'll create a narrative that respects everyone." Slowly, David's shoulders began to relax as he absorbed my words. "Okay," he eventually murmured, glancing around the familiar living room. "I'll try to open up more. I just need to see this actually blending, not just talking about it." "Tonight will be a chance for that," I said, feeling a flicker of optimism. "Let's celebrate our merging lives." As the day approached, I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. Could we truly bridge the gaps that had caused division in the past? The evening held potential, yet I worried that unaddressed emotions would resurface. That evening, our home buzzed with anticipation. The atmosphere crackled as Sophie and I worked side by side, following a menu that reflected our commitment to merging our identities. We prepared potato latkes alongside her zesty avocado salsa, each dish a symbol of our collaboration. "Where should we put the centerpieces? I want something that reflects our style," Sophie asked, the playful challenge evident in her tone. "How about wildflowers paired with a few modern succulents?" I suggested, the idea sparking creativity as we arranged the table together. "Let's make this evening our own signature blend." As guests began to arrive, I felt my heart race with delight. Laughter echoed through the house, surprising me with its warmth. It was a sweet melody threading through our gathering, filling the space we had worked to reclaim. Amidst the laughter and conversations, I noticed David quietly observing. A hint of pride filled his features as he watched us work harmoniously, a light replacing the tension that had hung over his head like a cloud. "Tonight is proof we're capable of this," I whispered to Sophie, my voice laced with gratitude. "We're creating a legacy rooted in understanding and love." The evening unfolded beautifully, laughter and connection permeating the air around us. The cacophony of voices grew richer, and I felt the earlier barriers dissolving. It was a celebration, a manifestation of what our family could be, a tapestry woven with diverse threads. As we gathered around the table, I felt a surge of warmth rising in my chest. No longer were we weighed down by past grievances. The air around us felt charged with belonging. I caught David's eye, and I saw hope flickering within him as well. Through delicious food and shared stories, we were crafting new memories together, an inviting blend of tradition and modern experiences. It was no longer merely a gathering. It was a joyful embrace of our potential. In a powerful moment, I felt my mantra rise within me, echoing through my heart. In the silenced echo of her contempt, I will reclaim my dignity. So the shadows that had once loomed over us were disappearing under the light of our shared progress. As the night continued, the laughter grew louder and more genuine, bridging the gaps that had once defined us. Together, we were enveloped in a warmth that shaped a new narrative, a vibrant tapestry symboling respect, love, and unity. This was merely the beginning, a fresh start nurtured by understanding and care, propelling us toward a future bright with love, respect, and the promise of belonging. As the night wore on, laughter echoed through my home, a melodious testament to the connection we were forging. The air shimmered with warmth, yet a whisper of unease coiled in my stomach, a reminder that not all shadows had been banished. I glanced around the table, taking in Sophie animatedly discussing garden plans with David, their faces illuminated by flickering candlelight. The laughter seemed genuine, but beneath it lay a tension that felt as palpable as the fabric of the tablecloth beneath my fingers. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, startling me from my reverie. A message from my neighbor, Claire, flashed on the screen. A photo of Sophie looking carefree outside our home earlier that day. Accompanying it was a simple but potent message. "Hope you're okay with this. She seems so happy. Just a thought. Can't keep control forever." Control. The word pierced through the warmth of the evening like a shard of ice. A pang of self-doubt struck me. Was that what everyone thought? That I was trying to dominate her happiness? My pulse quickened as I internalized the implications of her message. Did Sophie feel stifled? "Mom?" David's voice interrupted my spiraling thoughts. "You okay?" With a tight smile, I forced the unease deep down. "Yes, I'm fine," Sophie chimed in, her excitement bubbling. "Maybe we should do this again next weekend, a family garden party. We could invite everyone." "Sure," I replied, the stiffness in my tone betraying my uncertainty. Another gathering could reignite the undercurrents threatening our fragile peace, but I didn't voice that. I'd love to, though. As the night progressed, conversations sparkled with laughter, but the specter of Claire's message loomed. I had to confront the growing tensions, this unspoken truth lurking just beneath the surface. Excusing myself under the guise of refreshing snacks, I stepped into the kitchen where the familiar scents of spices wafted around me. I leaned against the counter, trying to ground my racing heart. Outside the kitchen door, whispers floated in. David and Sophie's voices were hushed, charged with uncertainty. "What are you going to do if your mom keeps ignoring everything? She wants it to be like it was." Sophie's voice rose. "I don't want to choose between you and her," David replied, weighed down by discomfort. "It's not that simple." In that moment, something inside me broke open. Their words struck chords deep within me, grappling with insecurities I had buried. Questions of worthiness washed over me. Had I caused this rift? Was the specter of my control still looming? I took a deep breath, knowing I had to brave the tempest. Stepping back into the room, I felt the energy shift, every gaze now turning toward me. "Can we talk?" I asked, my voice steady, tinged with purpose. "Yes, let's," Sophie replied, her determination clear. In that moment, I understood the importance of speaking truth, not just about my past struggles, but about the path forward. I knew I had to navigate the complexities. It was time to dismantle barriers that threatened our bonds. As we sat down, the room felt heavy with anticipation, like a taut string ready to snap. I gripped the edge of the table, the air thickened by unvoiced concerns. "Can we talk about the rifts that have been lingering?" David and Sophie exchanged cautious glances, surprise etched on their faces, yet I could sense the possibility of healing. I drew in a deep breath, ready to reshape our narrative with honesty and fortitude. "I feel like the past has been weighing on us. I don't want to control you, Sophie. I want to support you." I locked my eyes with each of them. We need to acknowledge how much we all want to belong. For the sake of our family, let's lay everything out in the open. As my heart raced, I was reminded of my mantra. In the silenced echo of her contempt, I will reclaim my dignity. I realized this moment was more than just a confrontation. It was an assertion of my worth. With old wounds exposed and new hopes illuminated, I could feel reconciliation hovering in the air, ready to weave us together through understanding and love.